Cool. Hello, everybody. It's great to see everyone. I'd like to do a little bit less naturalistic, um, a little bit more this happens mode of GMing, um, if that's okay. But what that really means is that if I do a quick switch, tell me if I have run over something that you wanted your character to do or that you thought ought to be accounted for. So you don't, speak up about that if you when and if you want. For my part, I would like to investigate three things, both fairly quickly. The first thing is Matthew's character. If you would like to make a foray into the spirit world with your fetch inhabiting your body while you roam the spirit plane and perhaps meet a spirit or two and perhaps get an idea of what it's like to play from that vantage.
Yeah, definitely, I think.
Okay.
Especially now
So,
I've lost my tutor. I guess he's keen to
right,
think about experiential learning as well,
right,
really. Yeah.
right. So, for I've been thinking about this, and one thing that I think would be kind of cool is that you actually, I mean, the way that it's kind of stated in the book is one thing. It's a little bit vague, but the way it's stated in the book is one thing. I'm going to go a little further with it and say that your spirit bird
Hmm.
is actually visible as a bird flying around, not necessarily as wide ranging as you are in the spirit plane, but just flying around, and that is effectively your body in the real world, in the material world. So while you're in the spirit world, you exist as your physical
Okay.
your fetch is a physical bird. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I guess
So
that's
instead of
right.
you
Yeah.
sitting there meditating, this is a fairly complete, more dynamic idea of that your your physical body slash fetch is flying around town while while your spirit wanders the spirit world.
Okay, so I'm going to take on its spiritual essence. It takes on my physical essence or something.
Exactly.
We kind of
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Or vice
Yeah,
versa. Something
and
like
I
that.
guess is am I I guess I'm in danger as well then as as the bird in the physical realm.
Well, yeah, but you always would be. I mean, if
Yeah.
you were in the by the, it's the same. I would do mechanically. We would just treat it the same. Your body is vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's just not vulnerable to spiritual possession.
Yeah.
It's not
Cool.
empty. So, I mean, but yeah, I mean, it's sort of a
That
given that.
sounds cool.
So, that's one thing. Now, Binri is in the position of attending council discussions, and they're treating you very much as an adult. So, that's the context I'd like you to. This is not a barbarian society like the Orlanthi or something. So you don't think in terms of like a longhouse and all these chieftains showing up with their guards and stuff like that. Think just more in terms of a more well, God, there is no cultural analog. There's only echoes for what we're doing. Think of it more as instead of like barbaric chiefs who have won their place by right of arms, think of it more like people with lots of connections and lots of interests, lots of family, um, who are used to working with one another, even if they don't do it all the time. So,
Yeah, I think I have a pretty good picture there.
okay.
I think village council actually, um, Yeah, I may not be right completely aligned with what you're thinking, but I think I'm
It
close
does,
enough that
yeah.
we should go with it.
Yeah, and we don't have to be, really.
Yeah.
But as far as the physical setting is concerned, there are plenty of areas where a group of people can get together. I'm going to suggest that this is in an area that has a lot like that herbal area that we played in the very first session. Remember, I said there was like a partial roof, like a lattice roof
Okay.
with benches, but it was mostly open to the air with benches set out, but there was kind of a roof, like a half building. This is sort of like the building was built lengthwise, on one side, not the other. This is very similar, but a lot more solid, a lot less workbenchy, and a lot more social. So there are places to sit. There are, you know, geez, I'm having a little trouble putting it together in my mind. Let's see what we can do as we go along. One person that you've not seen in such a gathering before is Alkerton's mother.
Yep.
Is now involved in this, as well as Benry's own parents. And the topic is exactly as you guys have said. In fact, I think you even said it, Gordon. Without without the priests without the cult of to provide us with, granted dangerous protection, but some protection. Where are we? Who uh, what do we do? There are people who are talking of abandoning the place, that it's certain to be overrun by and her more destructive and aspects, just subsume the place as wilderness. Everybody knows that's what happens when you defy Basically, the place eventually gets overrun, and just becomes more forest. Then you also have the position that there's at least one person who is surprisingly supportive of Vakia, and says, if we owe anything, to her. And one person who comes to speak is Rudiver. Rudiver has a reason to be at this meeting, and he will.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Ian, I just wanted to kind of place your character a little bit. You have the three characters. You're the one who kind of has the most freedom of movement at the moment, and I'm interested in what Jonathan would be doing. Given all that has occurred, I thought I would let you come up with if at all possible, cut straight to it. Tell me where we see Jonathan right now and what he's doing.
Gosh. What's he doing? I think he's going to attempt. I don't know. If I said I'm going to attempt to follow Vakir.
Yeah.
At a distance, probably. I'm thinking a bit the Magnificent Seven sort of thing, right? I'm following along behind. I feel a bit like he thinks he has nowhere else to go, and he feels in danger.
Everybody, let's take a look at the outcomes of what you're doing. And in the case of Alkerton, we're taking a look at this spirit encounter table thing.
Okay.
And so, right. And if you're not in spirit combat, you may return to your body at will. And although it is not mentioned in these rules, there's the interesting possibility that if you are in the spirit world at a point of contact that's not where your body is, that you could actually bring your body to you and pop out into reality wherever it is that you are.
Okay, that's cool.
However, I'm going to consider that an advanced technique. and
Yeah.
and we will have to do goals and stuff to manage that sort of
Sounds
thing.
reasonable.
The automatic thing is that whatever pickle you get into, as long as you're not in the spirit combat, you can say back to my body and you go, and that's okay. The tricky thing is that is just how dangerous these things are when when you're looking. There is a chance that it is hostile, and in current circumstances, I would think that chance would be higher than usual, but I'll go by what it says. Um, so you have encountered, I mean, the spirit plane is actually a lot like the real world, traveling in the real world, except that you can go wherever you want your consciousness to go. You just
Okay.
put yourself wherever in your
So
vantage point.
rapid.
And
Yeah.
not only that, but it's freaky and the perspectives are off and things are not, you're seeing everything in its spirit essence. And so lots of things that you would see in the real world aren't there. And a lot of things that you wouldn't see in the real world are there.
Okay.
And it's all like Disney acid trip kind of, versions of the real world.
And Alkerton's not been here before, Ron, has he? I don't think.
It seems to me that you at least have some passing familiarity. You may have been shown, with Eben's guidance a little bit, particularly in that period between Des returning to Green Rock Way and your trip to the campfire.
Yeah, fair
That
enough.
period of time there, which was probably around, if I remember correctly, couldn't have been longer than 48 hours, but we do know that you were spending a lot of time trying to brush up on shamanism.
Yeah, sort of
And so,
accelerated apprenticeship. Yeah.
right. And so you probably got your first, but this is the first time you've done this by yourself.
Okay. And he said Rudiver has got some knowledge but no practical skills. And I've got kind of Eben's scrolls and amulets. I think you mentioned some
Right, correct.
trinkets and stuff. So I'm probably
Right.
using or coupling all that together, really.
Correct. Now, the spirit you have encountered, I now know how powerful it is. And so I don't even want to talk about like what a spirit looks like. That's not really where I'm at. I think that it's better to say that there is a perception of their existence that doesn't have a lot to do with appearance and has a lot more to do with relative presence. This spirit, you can estimate a spirit's power within a range of plus or minus 5 points, and vice versa.
Right.
Given that this thing is in your range of power,
Okay.
you fall into its range that you can estimate. So it's not mass. It's not a teeny tiny little itsy bitsy spirit, and it's not some monstrous entity that could roll right over you either. It's in
Cool.
your range. Where you are, you are, yeah, you are at what I would think of as kind of the central cultural node of the village itself.
Right.
It's not an altar so much as a wayfaring stone that
Okay.
now that you've realized it and thought about it for the first time, realized was actually originally just a crossroads marker, but has become the centerpiece of town.
Yeah. And spiritually is also the centerpiece, but from what it sounds, yeah.
That's for the identity of the place, yes. And so
Yeah.
it's not too surprising that there is a spirit hanging about
there.
Yeah. So now, meanwhile, Binri in the council is coping with people talking, and there is some discussion of Vakia, and they want to know what you think in terms of, she was talking about you going off and getting trained in her temple, you and June. I will also point out that you and June have discovered that she has left something behind. She did not take them with her. The practice batons.
The practice batons?
Yeah.
Oh. How many do we have?
5.
5. All right. Well, so Binri initially is not very comfortable with this getting treated like an adult thing.
Uh-huh.
He's gonna be probably a little whiny. Oh, we should go and get Yoreen. We should tell Des that it's safe to come back. But if people are actually starting to talk to him about Vakia and going to this temple, he kind of takes that a little bit more seriously, and actually after a fair bit of hemming and hawing, I don't know if that's the right thing for me to do. I mean, I feel bad letting Vakia go off to Green Rock by herself, but I didn't even know there was a Green Rock until yesterday. I mean, I didn't know anything about this. I'm very much out of my depth here. You people haven't told me anything about what really goes on in this village. I'm like totally in the dark.
All right.
All right.
How come I keep losing my D10? It's not like I don't
Because
have
it's
80
the one
of
you
them.
need.
God,
It's the one you need for this game. That's why.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It's all 8s and 12s.
So
Who can only find 8s and 12s in this little dice tray here? There we go. All right.
so I have a bit of orate skill, but a 76 is not going to be
Got it.
particularly impressive.
Okay. And Matthew, why don't you make a spirit lore roll?
Okay, I'll just quickly check that. I got a slight increase last time.
I thought so.
28. Woo.
Ooh. Is that a success?
Oh no, sorry, that's my score. That's my stats. And my roll is 52. I'm afraid.
How do you end up with a 28? In this iteration of RuneQuest, you have it's all 5s. It's all by 5s.
Did I not? Oh, did I check it last time? Did I get a D10 improvement or?
There's not a D10 improvement. It's just you go up by 5%.
Oh, so maybe it's 30 then.
I'm sure it's 30.
Apologies, and I still failed, but anyway, that's a bit better. Thank you.
Okay. Those rolls both failed. Gotta love the failed roll. And clearly you need to make some sort of roll yourself. If you want to stay out of her sight, you need tracking. And if you want to just like stay in her sight but not have her notice, then you need stealth. So one or the other. Or hide, I guess.
So on the stealth, I have move quietly, conceal, and slight.
And that we move quietly.
Okay. It's as bad as my track, sadly. You'd think I am probably the worst hunter ever at 50%. But let's see if I can sneak up on something at 15%. Somewhat 22. That was not a bad roll, but
yeah, he's trying.
This is as good as a mile, unfortunately. So no, I suspect probably my best attempts to become
the
stealthy hunter of the wild. Track, yeah.
Was that track or move quietly?
I move quietly, yeah.
Okay. Well, in that case, you failed. You move noisily, and so so yes, she realizes that you're there. And
what does she do? Did she ignore that fact, or does she try and
well, let's talk about that in a minute. Right now, I'm just getting a visual on what everybody's doing. I want to pass a little bit of more information around.
Okay.
You don't know what the spirit is, Matthew. You don't really identify it very well. It's all rather awesome and iridescent, and altogether too present and active for you to be all that comfortable with it.
Is it hostile? Can I tell that?
Well, it would engage in spirit combat with you if it was hostile. It is not.
Okay. So
it is not, but it is definitely interacting with you, and you would have to actively evade it in order to make that not happen.
Fine.
But the communication with you is this: where is Eben?
and I will communicate back that I saw him being attacked, and I think I saw him leaving for the spirit realm, didn't I? As he got
Yes, you did.
destroyed. So
Well,
can I give a general sense of that? I don't want to give any kind of particular clues as to where his spirit may have gone, in case I'm not quite sure the intentions or motivation of this creature.
the only thing you can say is that you knew his spirit was being pursued. That's all you know.
Yeah.
Um,
So I can say he was fleeing then. Yeah.
This is a spirit that is associated with Green Rock Way. It lives here, if you will, identifies with it, and is very familiar with Eben, and is concerned, I guess is probably the best word.
Okay, that's good.
So if you would like to interact with it in some way, then you can, to find something out, to seek anything. Remember that you are actually traveling in the physical and the material world as well. Distances aren't the same. You might zip over the horizon in a heartbeat, or you might travel for what seemed to you like days just to go a mile. But you do correspond to the real world when you traverse. So
Okay.
if you were to, for example, try to go visit somewhere in the spirit plane, you can.
Well, I'm going to see if I can ask the spirit if it can help me track down Eben.
This is a bargain. The normal deal is for the shaman to give the spirit 1 point of power per 10 points of power the spirit possesses, which in this case would be 2. You literally would lose 2 points of power. And then the spirit will serve as extra eyes on the spirit plane, as a reservoir of power for casting spells, and it will help you in spirit combat. So basically, there's no roll. All you have to do is give it the power. It's not hostile.
Okay, and will it, in return, it will help me try and find Eben, perhaps?
Perhaps, or whatever it is you have in mind.
Okay, it's quite a lot of power, but yeah, I'll do that then. And that's permanent loss, Rob.
Correct.
Okay, good, done that. So I will, make a bargain with the spirit.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping it's a kind of, benign spirit of the community, really. It's got an interest in helping Eben.
Kind of the vibe you're getting anyway. Yeah.
Pretty weird community.
Yeah. And so its idea of traveling is actually to, or of investigating is actually to confirm its identity, basically, is to kind of confirm its contact with the community. It visits places that you didn't know about were important, or that you knew were important but might not have known entirely why. And it is particularly happy that it is it is particularly happy to it seems to be free of dangers, free of something bad that was there that it always had to be careful about.
Okay, that's good. So it's a bit more carefree. That's nice.
Correct. Some flickers of perception from relevant individuals, people important to you. There's your mother at a council meeting.
Mm-hmm.
There's Rudiver, who is deeply despondent. And seems he's also very busy with something that the spirit that you're dealing with is wary of. Rudiver is doing something that is spiritually relevant. Your ability to analyze it at this point is limited, but you can make a roll if you want to.
I'll try. I'm not optimistic, but I may as well try and figure out what Rudiver's up to, I think, if that's all right.
Now, the only spirit lore, I think, is probably the only thing, even though we're rolling it over and over again.
That's all right. Might be lucky eventually. No, 57, I'm afraid.
By the way, you should open the skill, like create a new skill from a couple of sessions ago, which would be lore, and it would be the lore of Risha Himla.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So start that at your knowledge base. Start it at 5% plus your knowledge bonus, whatever that is.
Yep.
Um,
Just check how I spell that again. I've got it down somewhere.
yeah. So then, so you're learning more about the community and stuff through this spirit's actions, and in many ways, although you're not going anywhere yet, it's giving you a lot more perspective on what kind of circumstances from this side of things were going on at the point of Evan's death. That's what ultimately you are. That's ultimately what you're investigating.
Do I see do I see Binri as I'm looking at this kind of council chamber?
Yes.
And how does he appear spiritually? Is he kind of taking on the aura of a kind of leader, becoming a leader, or is he?
It's different than that. What you're seeing is more a. Well, first of all, people's presence there is a function of power.
Okay.
So with Binri's power score is middling, I believe, or is it high?
Binri has a high
Yeah,
power.
Right. Yes, the high power will show. And then
17. If I
yeah,
remember.
17 power will definitely show up as very present. More importantly, there is a glowing light that is not found anywhere else except in June.
Okay.
There is a gleaming to him and her that you do not see anywhere else, and which again the spirit with you considers alarming.
Oh, alarming. Okay.
Yes. So that is okay, but you're learning a bunch of stuff, which I'll talk about in a minute. Gordon, you're also learning a ton of things just by keeping your mouth shut as you stop talking finally. Then finally, let's take it to Jonathan, who she
felt his.
right. Well, she knows you're there, and her response then is to look where you are, and say, "Well, come on out then."
Okay, so I will walk out the bushes.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps I'm a little bit miffed
Mm-hmm.
that my skills as a hunter
Mm-hmm.
have been found wanting, but I will come out to face her.
And she says, "I don't suppose I have to ask."
There's nothing for. I can't stay here without resolving the issue of the cult. They want me dead, and you know I don't feel like I have anyone left really. Most of the people that a lot of them effectively were on the wrong side in the fight, and I guess I thought maybe you shouldn't go alone. And I don't know what I can do to help, but I will do what little I can. I'm good with my sling, and I can use a knife, and maybe that's enough. I don't know, but I will help whatever way I can, even if it's just to carry your pack. I need this done.
Right. Well, she says, "I sent you to the devil, but I wasn't sure it was the right thing to do." Well, Vakia accepts you with her, and she says, "I tried to send you to the devil. However, she was uncertain at the time, and now that he's made this choice, that's as good an answer as she needs. And she will talk with you a little bit as you guys continue along. You're headed up into mountain trails, very much of the kind that you're familiar with, but you just happen not to have been in this area before. There are signs, surprisingly. In fact, make a scan roll. simply because I want you guys to roll as many skills as you possibly can in the faint hope that you actually improve in them.
That's 30, which is my fantastic abilities. 25. No, oh no, actually it's 13. So there we go, because I'm reading the percentile dice wrong. So 13. So I make a scan roll. Yay!
Well done, excellent.
Well, check it for God's sake, and then second,
I have, yeah.
yeah, the thing you see is that this road, or the way, I should say, I guess the technical term is track, is more commonly used than you might expect.
Mm.
That
Have I been previously told, this is a forbidden area, we don't go there?
not quite as explicitly as all that. You just happen not to.
Right.
And you've been subtly disabused.
Directed elsewhere.
Right.
The hunting's no good there.
Right. Right. And so, but you're a little surprised. You're kind of like, people come here. It's not as heavily used as some places, but it's not unused. And in fact, there are some relatively recent signs of passage. So that's what I'm letting you know on this scan.
Do I? Is it obvious that Vakia she's seen this too, or
nope, not at all.
All right, I will then. I turn to her and I say, Vakia, I don't know whether. I mean, this may not be unusual to you, but there are more people traveling here than I would have thought. We don't really come this way. People say the hunting's bad. I guess I know why now. And but the people have been traveling this way recently, which I find strange. I thought no one came this way. And I point out the signs that I've seen.
That butcher woman, she wasn't at the village. She wasn't back there when we fought there.
Olive.
Right.
Yeah.
And did you guys leave Yoreen on the road? I'm trying to remember. Did you bring her back? I think you left her on the road.
Back. Oh, we did dump her.
No, we couldn't get her back. We left her tied up on the road.
Yeah. We did abandon her in the end.
Bastards.
In the almost certain knowledge that she would basically return at some point.
The nemesis.
Matthew, as I recall, you were like the first on the list for dropping her there. But
I think I was easily persuaded.
Right.
There was a moment when
actually.
Yeah. Well, one dose of fear shock will do that to somebody, I think. Yeah.
There was a moment when Jonathan began to question whether Alkerton was actually the good guys.
Right,
when he kind of
that's right. You were sort of the attempted moral voice briefly.
Throw down and kill her, I think, was kind of the...
Yeah, exactly. I swung pretty quick from taking her to killing her.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do recall.
Whereas Binri was enjoying poking her along way too much.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so now that I remember that properly, let's point out that yes, she says what I see when she's how am I going to put it? She would use different terms. She would say, when I blinded myself to all the lies and confusions, what I knew and realized was that Oniv and her friends were keeping knowledge from their own priest.
Ooh.
That this way is closed through them, that they have been interpreting. There's something about the priest, something about the history here, which is still confused. I have to blind myself to it more, but the time has come. I know that it's Oniv, and I have to act. This is what I have sworn to do. I swore
It was
this.
on.
I swore this for Binri.
It was Oniv that who was the one who dragged me into this as well. She was the one that dragged me into the cult, and it's Oniv really I want to confront about that as well.
Have you told Vakia about your first encounter with the priest? Did you? Because you told her a lot. I don't know if you went back that far.
I don't. I seem to remember I talked about Binnery, and so I think we may have mentioned that. Yeah.
Okay. So so she says tell me again when you saw when Onev took you to that priest. Tell me again. And so we don't need to go over it now, but the point is that she goes into that weird trance state, and you can see that she's not looking where she's walking. Even though she remains sure-footed, she seems completely checked out while you're talking.
Okay.
But you probably know from the last 24 hours that this is important. This is the way she does things.
Yeah, it's this weird sort of like cutting out the distraction, the noise, to try and find the key. Yeah,
exactly. And so, but that's the thing. There's something about the seclusion of Greenwalk from Greenrock Way, something about these particular personalities that she's trying to get it together. All right.
Okay.
Now, geez, I was really hoping to get a little further with this. You made life a little interesting, Ian, with your catching up with Vakia. But this is actually a pretty good idea for crisscrossing information. Somebody who was able to perceive all three of these interactions at once will be able to piece together much more of the history than any of the three characters engaged in one of those situations. So to make life a little easier, we are going to take the point of view of what you would learn if you could interact with this spirit as Alkerton is doing, if you could interact with the conversation at the council as Binri is doing, and if you could engage in this curious, semi-mystical conversation as Jonathan is doing. What will come forth is this, that there was a priest of by the name of Bet. Bet was a figure of the village, and when he became a priest, could no longer come to the village. A priest of cannot set foot in a developed community. They cannot leave the forest. But regardless, had relatively close contact with people and was, if not benevolent, because by definition rules through fear of the forest, if not benevolent, was primary in maintaining the integrity of this region, which outsiders call Hag's Nook, from the other gods, particularly Ordlandis, the chieftain, who is, and so the point being that, no, we are not a warlike people over here, but we will not be overrun by warring clans and other, other organized violent people. So in many ways, they gave up the community gave up they exchange one form of fear from another. They don't want to be in fear of being burnt in their beds by armed forces. On the other hand, they have to live in fear of the forest while giving themselves up to it as their primary sustenance and primary way of doing things.
Yeah, and we learned, didn't we, the other week that the June's parents or something like that, but even Benry's parents had come here as exiles from war elsewhere.
Actually, that was Alkerton's family.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
family.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I remember picking this up last week. And,
So, let's go off to Hag's Nook. There's no war there. Was kind of
yeah.
But in that Bet was by no means, as I say, a benevolent person. The rule of is harsh, but that it was at least it was functional at that time. That things changed in that regard in relationship to a young woman named Carva. That Carva was an initiate of who became powerful. The name that I'm trying to see which one of you would probably be encountering that. Probably Alkerton would be the one to actually learn the name of the path that Carva took. Don't get the names mixed up. The way she followed was the way of Black Car, but it's not the same letter. You spell Carva with a K, you spell Black Car with a Q.
Okay.
Black meaning the absence of light. And so that's the name that you get associated with. I mean, you won't learn the person's name Carva. You will learn the name Black Car as the path this person walked.
Okay.
And that this had a lot less to do with the capture. What you learn is that Evan's mentor had been taken by the drowned goddess, who is the slave of And so basically he had been enslaved by
And when you say path, Rod, you mean a kind of mystical journey?
The term in the rules is hero cult.
Okay. Yeah.
A subcult of
Okay.
The path of Black Car is different from the path that Bet had taken, which was the path of Vrisha Himla, the slave version, the enslaved version. So when Bet was the priestess, the spirits were basically all under her sway. Diseased spirits were a big deal. That Carva has taken a slightly different approach. And as you've seen, she does command disease spirits. But that black rune that Jonathan saw, that literally seemed if implanted onto her face, was is a very different phenomenon. They speak in the council meeting of the season of darkness, the season of darkness that defines the time when Carva took over. And you get the idea that Carva was young, very disliked, and very, very, very alienated. That's actually where Vakia, in talking to Jonathan about it, is extremely disturbing, partly because doesn't seem aware that she's actually talking to another human. It's like she's stating flat facts. The description of Carva as a person, which is coming from her and not from any of the other interactions, is all too familiar to Alkerton. Oh, sorry, to Jonathan. All too familiar.
Yeah, and I guess I've seen a bit of that in
Yeah,
Green and Jodney and
right. Well, the point, actually, no. When I say all too familiar, I don't mean like them. No, they were arrogant. They were cruel.
Yeah.
They were proud. We're talking about people who, we're talking from Carva's point of view, somebody who was lied to, pushed around, influenced,
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
cajoled,
Okay. I understand what you mean by all too familiar. Then. Okay.
made to feel important and then smacked down again, that kind of thing.
Yeah. They're but for the grace of something go I. Yes.
Right. And so so that is what, so that you guys are starting to get a little picture of a lot of a bit of the history.
Do you get because you say that Carver was disliked and alienated, but she obviously got powerful. So do we understand how politically she managed to gain influence? Or is it more just kind of raw spiritual power? Or...
It became much more a matter of raw spiritual power by walking
Okay.
this way of Black Car. It's a hero
Right,
cult of that is far more proactive than the other practices, and is how am I going to put it? Well, you don't really have the lore, I think.
Okay, no problem.
Address that. But the spirit's showing you these things, like the residues. I mean, the green. You realize something. Green Rock Way is warped spiritually. There are sectors of it, places or persons, where this history has literally warped their spiritual presence so that they appear grossly distorted and disturbed and harmed spiritually. So you can actually see like where Carva basically killed a family with fear shock by
Okay, can I see
conjuring
the
up loons and stuff, conjuring up the shades and things like that.
yeah? So I can see the effects of her action still.
Right.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that is part of that is the now Green Rock. This is other things you'll learn. Green Rock Way became the primary village long before all of this. So the separation of the original village from the one you live in, that's not recent history. That's older. So everything I've been talking about is a Green Rock Way story. But that Carva went up to Green Rock and shut herself up there. And that's where she is. That's where now. And so what you learn, Jonathan, is that Oniv basically capitalized on that separation. So she could tell all the people in the village, or the people, everybody's a layman of of course, but she can tell anybody who's more central to it, people like you, people like other initiates, she could tell them what Carva wanted or did or whatever. And then when she and others went up there, she could tell Carva what she wanted.
Okay, so she was like the intermediary, but kind of playing both sides.
Exactly. Well, getting everything her way.
I see.
More than anything else. So, so yeah. So you guys are starting to kind of put together a little bit of the history. Each of you has an incomplete piece, but from our perspective, seeing all of these interactions simultaneously, you can do that.
Cool.
Vakia does want, when she comes out of it, Vakia says to you, I see now. This is, by herself. By herself, Carva is my enemy, but Oniv is the one I must kill. I don't think that, she says, I would be wary of going here with my brothers and sisters of Nea. I would be wary of going here without anything less than a full priest of the devil. But here I am. This is where my road has taken me. What little school or teaching I founded here, it's probably all I'm going to leave behind. I don't want you to die here, Jonathan, she says. I want you to, if you want, you should watch, you can be with me, but, well,
I understand.
it's not my place to tell a man when he should die.
Yeah.
But this time
I will do what I can, but I feel that even if at some point this goes beyond me, that someone should witness what happens here. You know, I was mentored by the singers, and although I have little skill, perhaps, you know, I will be able to speak of this. I will help you whichever way I can. I wish that, you know, there was more hope, that you seem very convinced of your doom. I'll do what I can, but I recognise the need perhaps to return and tell the story of what we discover.
All right, so the only thing I want to go through now is, Matthew, do you want to find out anything else specific? And there are several skills you could potentially use to do so. Same thing for Gordon.
I guess the two things in my mind then are any kind of assessment of Oniv's spiritual strength and kind of support around her still, given the fight. So she's got any allies with her. And I guess also if I can somehow track Eben, or if the spirit from the village can help me find some kind of spiritual trail of Eben so I can help him.
Okay. Yes. And the trail goes to Green Rock.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make a scan roll, though.
Okay.
Gordon, anything come to mind?
Yeah, so I had one. Just, do we know who Vakia means when she says the devil?
Yes, you're familiar with this usage. It's although you're kind of putting it you in particular, because you're the one who met the players and told stories with them and stuff like that. You know that is all of you have heard it as a minor, slightly blasphemous thing to say, but it corresponds to one of the new godlings of light, who's called Sega. What's your skill, Matthew?
30.
Yes, but that means that you just got a critical.
Okay, I didn't know I can get it for non-combat things. That's good.
Which is kind of amazing.
So
yeah,
Gordon, last time around, I don't know if you remember, but Zagar was the one that effectively Vakia said to me, right. I don't know whether you're following the same path as June and Bin, but maybe what you need to do is seek out Zagar as a god for you, sort of thing.
Right. And again, here she's saying that she was still uncertain about that, in the sense that she's very uneasy about sending anyone down that path.
Sure. Yeah, she did. Yeah.
That brings it back to me. I knew that there was a connection. I was just not forming it. Right. As far as Binri at the council, I think he at this point would be trying to get as much information about Green Rock spoken publicly here in this meeting as he can. He says, clearly that's where our problem is. You need to explain this. We need to understand this. All of us need to understand why did we separate? Where is it? What are the dangers between here and there? You need to help us understand.
Charisma check. This is a charisma against resistance. So charisma on the resistance table. So you've got a 17, 15, something. What was it?
My charisma is not that big, but it has gone up some. I'm up at 14 now,
14. Okay. So what do you hit?
which gives me a 47 is what I hit. So
okay.
I
So,
have a success.
So
on that.
anybody with 15 or charisma is going to 15 or less charisma is going to be convinced by you. So which is pretty much everybody there. 15 is pretty high. One or two people might not be quite as convinced, but
Hopefully they're not
yes.
the ones who knows the answers.
Right. Well, the what will come about is people know different things. That Green Rock has been separated and more or less abandoned. Some of the older people there remember when some people still lived there, and it was sort of considered the outposty version, of the Green Rock Way now, even though it was the original village. But the last, within the last period of relevant memory, um, that it became isolated, and this is sorry, this is all part of the story of Karma. This is all part of the real shutdown of the way is the history of Karma. But really, what it is this: um, upon ascending to the position of the most prominent deity, the priests of demanded. They were resisted at first, and they led in the forest. They subsumed Green Rock and basically prevented it, destroyed it as a viable farming, viable living space. It's been basically uh, first overgrown and then blighted. So, and a few like hangers-on straggled on living there, for a while, but gradually it became more and more and more wretched over the years, and eventually was given up upon.
Guess it explains how Karba can be there even though it was once a town.
Right.
And initiates aren't supposed to do that. There's so much I'm learning that I did not know.
Right. Well, yes. I mean, she can be there because it's not a town now. It's blasted, cursed forest now. More, I mean, technically. So, so that's that's really the way people would speak of it in your presence. You now realize through the course of your life is, oh, that old place, or why go there, or that kind of stuff. Up that way, back when we lived there, but thank God we don't, sort of thing.
Well, we've already learned through Alkerton that there has been mystical changes of memory as well. So
yes.
I can't be totally shocked by any of this, given that powerful spiritual influences have been acting on us as well.
Make a roll based on intelligence times 5.
All right. Ooh, I have a 09.
Wow, Finry actually has an idea.
That's 50. I'm intelligence times 5 is 50. So a 9 is not.
He's not the slowest in the group, sadly.
That's actually another critical. You rolled under your actual. Wait.
Oh, I rolled under my actual stat.
Yeah. Right, you rolled under your actual stat. So then criticals are 20%. Not. Well, wait, no, other way around. Impales are 20%. You got an impale on your. And so, but the point is that you get to check your intelligence. You will get an increased roll on that.
All right.
And second, of what you find out. So that's 2 critical notions that I would like to follow up on. Number 1, you can, Alkerton, see
Yeah.
that the shaman spirit that you fought
Mm-hmm.
pursued Eben's spirit this way. Once separated from himself, from his body, once a person dies, their spirit becomes just a spirit. It's not
Yeah.
a ghost. That's a different thing entirely. It has nothing to do with and you don't know anything about undead or ghosts or anything like that. It's way out of your training. But so you are well aware that a spirit is not the person,
Yeah.
except for shamans. So as far as shamans are concerned, yes, there is a great deal. They are a different kind of being now. You can't think of it as just the person disembodied, but it is, I mean, they have no sense of identity with like their family or with
Okay.
stuff like that. So like I say, they're not ghosts.
They can't
But
bring him
they
back or
do
anything.
retain, for example, their spells, certain priorities insofar as they pertain to spiritual matters, stuff like that.
Okay.
Lore in particular, they would retain. Um, so what you are pursuing or what you are find yourself tracking is the path of a horrific form of debasement and enslavement, such that the spirit cannot in any way be said to reflect the actual personality of Eben's mentor. Okay? So it's not his ghost, it is his spirit, which has been debased, humiliated, enslaved, and ultimately corrupted into a travesty of
Sorry,
a
that's
spirit.
Eben's mentor, not the Eben.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
But that's who you do not know or see of or gather quite what Eben did, except to go this way. But
Yeah.
but this is the true spiritual signature of what you're following is this thing.
Yeah.
The village spirit will not go with you, but it will point the way. And the path where that critical scan you did, the
Yeah.
path is evident. The
So I
path
could.
is clear and as horrifying in the taint on whatever it goes by
Okay.
that you can track it easily.
And geographically, this is
Straight on the way, you know exactly where. Straight on
yeah,
the
and
way to
where
Green Rock.
and that's where Oniv is, we think as well.
Correct.
Yep. And hopefully where
Right.
the
You
key
can
is going to be
see
coming.
that this way is splotched and pustulated with the signs of diseased spirits. In fact, as you go, it's as though they're crouched watching you from place to place. More of
Okay.
those birds, worse things.
Okay, I wonder if I could sort of time things, if I could kind of free Eben's mentor, trying to help him at the same time as Vakir attacks, perhaps. So I guess at the moment I'll bide my time.
But you are continuing to traverse to go.
Yeah, I think so. I want to be an observer. So I want to make sure that I can't be detected if I can manage that.
Right. That's a little tricky. I'm not quite
Okay.
sure that's
Possible. So don't
yeah.
worry if it's not.
Well, RuneQuest has no rules for spirit plane travel.
Okay.
I'm somewhat extrapolating from the Hero Wars and Hero Quest rules in this stuff. But let's see. The yeah, so I hope I've given you some idea of where you're at, right?
Yeah,
Because I think
definitely,
I can
definitely.
definitely see what's going to happen now.
So I'm trying to think about, as I
Right.
say, just for the calls, combine attacks. Really, I
Right.
suppose is my thinking at the moment. Yeah.
Well, the to Binri then what you're learning is that this bit of history about Green Rock, but also the question remains: what do we do without some kind of magical protection or force? the waves of disease and what could happen to Green Rock is going to happen here to Green Rock Way. It's even they're speaking openly now. Even the Wendrarans left, and so there were initiates of the other gods there, not of Ordlindas, but of the mother Wendrara, and they will not speak the name of the taker of sacrifice.
Right.
They rooted out and burnt that particular dwelling, and there are things there that they still cannot approach or touch. And oh yes, and this is from your great intelligence roll. I can explain to you. The cult of Urahos does not play well with all of the others. It's the most powerful of the four gods. It is the most dangerous. It is the most secret. And almost every community has an enclave that the other gods basically all treat as hands off. And they periodically sacrifice people. And they take whom they will. And they sacrifice them so thoroughly that they expunge them from reality.
Yeah, I think I remember Alkerton had some insights along those lines as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
that's my father.
When you get spirit sight, or when you get initiated to one of the godlings of light, then you can see, you can remember. Particularly if Vrisha Himla is involved, and Rudiver had been trying to get you in that direction, Alkerton.
Yeah.
So that's where you started to see.
So I've got a bit of lore now, haven't I?
Right. So so what I'm saying is that the takers of sacrifice were themselves the fourth cult, and not at all.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. Initiates and priests will kill whom they dislike. That's true. But they do not practice ritual sacrifice of humans. That is Urahos. So, let's see. Let's take it then here. We have a very good, we have a successful scan roll. We've got a really, really excellent, we got a successful scan roll on Jonathan's part about traveling on this track. We've got a beautiful, stunning scan from the perspective of the spirit world, which basically means that you are able to perceive the gathering of diseased spirits as directed, really, by that shaman spirit. And coalescing and coalescing and coalescing into a person. There is a person, like in the real world, in the mundane world, the material world. There is a person into whom disease spirits are infecting. And there's a bunch of them.
You say they're infecting, so it's not you. We say coalescing into, so it's somebody they're entering into rather than creating, as it were.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Can I see who it is?
Yes. Although to do this, you are starting to think about popping out of the spirit plane.
Okay.
To try to identify the person is actually fairly simple. It's Yoreen.
Okay. Actually, is it? Can I tell if it's a willing thing? Is she accepting these creatures as a kind of host, or are they kind of attacking her and taking her over?
The latter.
Okay. Oh dear. Can I try and stop that in the spirit realm? Can I attack the disease spirits? I don't really want to help her particularly, but I feel I don't like the sound of this.
It's a bit of a vote fast for you there.
I know. I'm morally just
There's
swinging the whip.
There's lots and lots of that kind of thing going on in this game.
Yeah.
So
I think there's degrees of evil, isn't there? And young girls in the village being attacked. I kind of think, well,
let's take a look at this from two perspectives. From the perspective of material reality, what we have is what you have is at the edge, or just in the line of sight of Jonathan and Vakia as they're walking along. Vakia's come out of her trance, but she doesn't really feel like talking anymore. In fact, at one point she actually has to stop, draw her sword, and touch it to her face for a long time. And then put it back and then keep walking. If you didn't know better, Jonathan, you'd say she's scared.
I was just wondering from what you're saying if I feel she's kind of preparing herself for a suicide mission.
Well, one thing that's gone is that kind of wicked little humor she always had, that kind of sarcastic edge, kind of fucking with you way of doing things that she kind of had a lot. That's gone.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say to her, Vakia, I know that from what I understand, you've told me that your God has shown you what action must be taken, and that you are the instrument of that action. But if
it's more than that, Jonathan, our path is the path of death.
Is it?
Someone must die.
Oh dear.
Is it necessary for you to do this without help now, or could you summon others to your aid? It's basically.
Our faith is young. She uses a word for someone who would have that kind of leadership and organizing social role.
Right.
And it's a word that we're going to translate as Lord, but doesn't really have the feudal, feudal ramifications as it does in English. I guess the word properly would be more like champion, I guess.
Okay.
And that such things exist for the gods. She says, Our faith is young. We do not yet have a champion who could do any such thing.
Right, I get it. Yeah.
My role was to bring was to blind myself as much as I could, and ultimately I hoped to teach, just as my priest taught me. In his place, I would find a place of my own and continue to teach, such as Binri and June. The path of the champion would be difficult. So in game terms, what she's saying is that the cult of Nia has not yet observed a rune lord.
Okay.
But so the perhaps I'm a bit lucky to have a singer nearby. Then she kind of that's kind of the best she can do. So yes, in game terms, she's a reasonably advanced initiate, but not anywhere near all those 90% skills that you would need to become a rune lord. One would imagine that in current circumstances, somebody well along that path would be a very, very they would be targeted enthusiastically by the gods. So
Okay.
the thing that I'm going to say is this: you guys, that business that you're that great scan roll that you made.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about Jonathan, not the
Sorry.
cook, but Jonathan.
Yeah.
Your scan roll lets you know that that basically, yeah, well, people were just here, and that you know what, you should be kind of not very far away
On
from
our
them
bar.
about right now. You know, code red, code red. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Fair enough.
and there's a person standing about I would say 25 meters away who's just emerged out of the side of the path and is standing in a curiously listless fashion up there, framed by the thick growth. Right about here is where the track is distinctly overgrown, and you guys are stepping through bushes and over roots and through parts that are very choked as often as not.
All right. So I will kind of loosen my sling and from my pouch or whatever, take a suitable river stone that I probably slept in. And I will look to Vakia to see whether she kind of nods that I should look at to take this guy out.
I hadn't mentioned this before, but she has with
Mm.
her a weapon besides her sword.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so big that I really, really, really should have included it for imagery purposes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as big as it ultimately is in use because you actually snap two pieces of it together. And I'm going to say that she carried it. It actually sort of attaches to her sword sheath, so that if you
Mm-hmm.
weren't really paying attention, you wouldn't really notice it. But of course, you do. What she has is a bow, and you actually put it together. It's not a single piece of wood. It's actually several substances, and it fits together for purposes of use. She is now readying it for use. The design of this bow, it is extremely long. Is actually in three pieces that she has to put together. And she may have been absently doing this as you walked along. And It's a longbow, but not of European design. I don't know
Okay.
if you've seen these. They're asymmetrical. When you draw the bow, the top half bends
Oh,
back over your shoulder.
this rings some sort of vague bell. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think
It-
I think you
so,
mentioned this with her when I met her.
Right. Right. And
so,
so,
what? Okay, what I may do while she is readying her bow, though, is I may ready my speed dart magic. The House of Magic. Why not?
excellent. Good plan. Good
Cool.
Old
plan.
school.
All right. And so the person you realize is Yoreen, and she's standing there in a disheveled and
Ah.
listless and somewhat. Her body language is all wrong. Um, and so and Matthew, there go the
Yep.
spirits. If you want
Yep.
to enter into spirit combat here on the spirit plane, remember if you get trapped here in spirit combat, you won't be able to get back to your body.
Okay.
If you uh, pop into the material plane, you will be safe in those terms, but you will also be let me put it this way: you will not you would have to you would be combating the spirits much in the same way that you did with Death.
Okay. And
Suffice to
if
say,
I,
you would be much less vulnerable doing this from the material plane.
yeah, and if I swapped over to the material plane, could I use my fetch to attack the spirits? Would it have to be me?
We're gonna have to have Ian check for us.
Sorry, so I'm a bit weaker
I
now
want
because
to
I've
do
lost
yeah.
that power,
I want
haven't
to
I?
yeah. I want to do this the right way. Yeah, we'll check the rules. On that. Bless you. We'll check the rules.
Okay.
Right now, your fetch is busy occupying your body and is not, in technical terms, and is not available to you.
Exactly.
From the material plane, your fetch would be available as an extremely powerful ally.
Yep.
It could, for example, fill up gaps in lost power during spirit combat.
Okay, so I should go. Okay, maybe that maybe decides it for me then. So I'll go back to the material realm
Right.
and try and attack
Okay.
these spirits.
Okay. Now, Binri, you're being sort of interestingly left out, I guess. But the way I'm going to do this is what I had planned. Your guys' actions had sort of thrown aside some of my plans for how to introduce things to you, but that's good. However, the vestiges of my plan can be observed by an interruption to the council. And you realize that there has been the curious silencing and absence of other people outside of the meeting. The ordinary noises of activity have been quiet for a little while. Nobody really noticed until just now.
Well, sounds like take a look outside and see what's going on.
Well, you don't really have to. There are two newcomers to the council meeting. They are, and you know what these are. You have seen these before, although not quite this up close or in these circumstances before. And in many cases, when they pass as an outrider, you would avoid them as danger.
Right.
Or undergo extremely ritualized actions of neutrality so that the two parties could avoid each other. You have been trained that when you see certain marks or certain signals left or in an area that you are not to go there for a while. And you know the countersign. These are stickmen. Their bodies are made of metal. They are the only metal you have ever seen. It is as exotic a substance and associated with a stickman as you could imagine. And they are shaped like humans with non-human relations of torso size to limb placement. But overall, the effect is of human proportions, if not in every last little spot. And they have blank faces, although there are two encouraging signs in their presence. One is that they have drawn just two lines on each of their faces where human eyes would be.
Okay.
One of them is wearing a somewhat ragged poncho garment like the rest of you tend to wear, although no other clothes. When the stickmen wear clothes and when they draw eyes or both or something like that, it's an indicator that they are talking with humans today. They're fitting in. It's a courtesy. But curiously enough, given their body language and the way they move their heads and stuff very much like people, the presence of the drawn-on eyes is actually extremely effective in giving them a sense of expression. Partly it's projection on your parts, partly it is simply the fact that they don't move like robots.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of things about them that is their legs and arms are way too thin for comfort. They're in observing the shins, the lower leg in particular is disturbing. It's curved in a fashion that. Have you ever seen those prostheses that people have? Those really high-tech prostheses that don't look like feet or lower limbs? They're actually a curved piece of flat metal. They actually work like 5,000 times more better than like a realistic looking artificial limb. and so their lower limbs are like that, except tapering to a point. And to move on those requires absolutely perfect balance, which they seem to have.
Very disturbing, not really human, but these ones are trying, which does help. Okay.
Right. Their postures, like the erectness and the position of their heads, necks, and torso to their positions, are extremely, extremely human. So the pieces aren't. The net effect of them moving through space is very much like a human walking.
Okay.
So they have arrived. And one of them emits shall we say, a not very competent, but at least comprehensible greeting. It's not comical, like, hello, you fuckers, or something like that, said perfectly politely. It's not comical, but it isn't very competent either.
Okay.
So yes, this is everybody. There's a reflexive shudder through the room. Look out, stickmen. Oh, look, they're here in peace. What do they want? That all kinds of reactions all occur through the room. You know that the stickmen will kill people when they are out in the wilds. You know that stickmen are the source of any metal that humans have is taken from their
Right.
bodies.
So is there somebody here that I would expect to be the person to start talking to them?
Yeah, there are a couple. One is Alkerton's mother, and another one is another village, elder.
Okay, well, try and kind of move closer to them. The people might have some clue about what's going on here.
Okay, things are a little bit different. There may be a time shift here that we have to cope with. So, Gordon, can you indulge us for a second to maybe catch up with
Definitely.
what may be a slight discontinuity in time among all these scenes? Matthew, are you coming back to the material world?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yes.
What you and Vakia see is the appearance of a beautiful bird, like a small sparrowy kind of bird, but striking in its dignity almost. That literally drops down out of the sky, snaps its wings apart as if it were a stooping hawk.
Yeah.
Which is really crazy for a bird that size. But you recognize it. You've seen it before. This thing has fought for you. You know this bird. And then there is a shattering, cracking, almost sonic boom level of noise. And standing there is Alkerton.
Excellent.
What?
Big entrance.
Impressive special effects, Alkerton.
Yeah.
I kind of look at my sling and my really impressive, I've managed to get my speed dart spell working,
Right.
and feel a little bit that my thunder has been stolen, but never mind.
Yeah, Vakia does a serious double take. That was not,
in the plan.
Yeah, well, yes, exactly. And she's like, she says, "All right, where's Binri?"
He's back at the council house.
At this point, probably Jonathan starts actually looking around for Binri, expecting
exactly. Yeah, well, exactly. And so actually, she would say, "And June." She would say, "Where's June and Binri?" But so yes, she kind of gives you both a kind of a, yeah, right. I know they're skulking around here somewhere kind of look. But then serious business returns, and she focuses her attention back on Urine.
Yeah.
Urine takes one stumble step forward, and tries to speak. Then bends over slightly and disgorges what looks to be a fair amount of dark sludge,
Okay. Nice.
and spits a few times, and looks up at you from that position, like with her eyes doing the kind of Kubrick-y thing, and manages to get out the words, "Stop. I don't like it."
And I'll try to attack the disease spirits
Right.
if I can. Yeah.
Okay. So let's do some strike ranking. That
Okay.
slingshot's real quick, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's Dex. It's my Dex strike rank, which is 1.
Matthew, there is a spell you may consider.
Bind spirit. What else have I got?
Spirit shield.
Yes, that's one I picked up since, isn't it? Yes, you're right. So I cast that. Yes, thank you.
That would be kind of a big deal, actually.
Yeah.
All right. So, how many points can you put into that?
Ooh, a bit where.
I mean, it's not. I mean, you have to know it to a certain level. I don't know if you ever learned it past 1.
Let me see what you told me, Ron. So I do jot down things.
Yeah.
So I can't see. Yeah, I think it's just at 1, I'm afraid. Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so with the power of 1, and you can figure the strike rank from there. And then I don't think it'll be very. I don't think it. I think it'll be coming in pretty quick, is what I think.
Yeah.
And what about you getting the sling ready, Ian? I think that'll come in like on 3 or something like that, won't it? It's like absurdly quick.
I'm on strike rank 6, my basic, for my normal combat one, as it were.
No, that's based on Dex. Never mind that.
Yeah.
There's a nice rule for that, which I can double check on.
I don't know about spiritual strike rank, I'm afraid.
Well, it's actually pretty. Spells and strike rank. So this spell was not ready, which starts you at 5.
Okay.
Your dexterity is pretty average, correct?
It's poor, actually. It's 7.
Okay. So that puts you at 9, and the power used of just 1 adds no strike rank. You're coming in on 9.
Okay, fine.
So yeah, you've got to get it ready.
Yeah.
Ian said that his spell was ready, so let's just do a double check on that. He's got a fairly high dexterity, as I recall. God, you really, really wish that strike rank for the spells was in the same place as the strike rank for the weapons.
Yeah, I thought he was hoping that he already. I think he was trying to actually use his sling.
No,
so
I know
think
that.
his strike.
His sling is ready. Prepared missile. Strike rank 0. Dexterity is quite high, correct, Ian?
So I think.
I believe you're actually coming into strike rank 1, like immediately.
Wow.
I guess we must include size and dex in the strike rank for a missile weapon. Otherwise, I'd be
dex for sure. But your dex is very fast.
1, yeah.
And I don't see how size would play a role for a missile weapon. I really don't.
But otherwise, the trouble with that is because it's SMR, right? So number of strike ranks a melee round. It would imply that I could make 12 sling attacks in a melee round, which can't.
You have to re-ready. No, you'd have to re-ready it though. You'd have to ready it.
Yeah. So, but SMR implies, So I guess, what would it be to re-ready them? That must be the.
It's got to be. It would be to prepare to unprepared to prepared is 5, so it'd take 5.
Right.
So,
okay.
So I think that's fairly reasonable, actually. If you got it
Okay.
ready, you can just whip it off. Slings are fast.
Yeah, that's very true.
So then you just have to get it ready again. So
Okay.
and you know, if you're just going to stand there in most combat situations, you're probably going to want to move around a little too and stuff. So you know,
Yeah,
can
you have to reposition myself
so no,
occasionally.
you're not a machine gun.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
no, the rules
And that didn't seem reasonable, so I was trying to figure that out, basically.
Yeah. No, the rules I think are fair here. I would like you to
Spell
there
strike
isn't a
take
there isn't a sanity check in there isn't a
Mhm.
sanity check in RuneQuest, but if there were, this would be a good time for it. So let's
Well,
take
just to let you know, I've got page 36 in the classic edition. I have the spell strike rank table.
yeah, I've got it. Yeah, I've got it. I
Okay,
found
cool.
it. Yeah, I have it. And so what we have here is your attack is coming in first.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so with the speed dot, that'll be a whopping 65%. So I still didn't hit anything.
Not bad.
And 35, so I
All
hit.
right. And your damage. Go ahead.
Three, because I get a plus
Wait.
3.
Hit location. Hit location.
The location is 14, which,
Right arm.
and then 1d8 plus 3 would be 8.
That's actually pretty nasty.
Slings are pretty nasty weapons, but that's with the speed dot on, so that's kind of a bit of a clunking first blow.
You've got a. I'm not surprised actually. All right, so let's take out my well-used NPC, my well-used NPC packet for our game, and the. Oh my God. You know what? That magically imbued stone, which actually leaves a sizzling hiss in the air, you know, so it's evident to anybody that this is not any old slingstone.
Yeah.
It hits her just about right here. Okay,
Right.
so not right at the joint, but just right here.
Yeah.
And there is a squishy crack, and her arm at this point is maimed so badly that it's literally turned around, hanging from that juncture.
Yeah.
And flops. I mean, when it hits, the whole arm just flops like it was already floppy, and is turned all the way around. And the same sludge that she had just vomited is oozing liberally from the site, to the point where it's in a moment it's basically going to be coating the arm. So now you've got kind of a Bernie Wrightson dangling arm, you know.
Joy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about sound rolls. Yeah.
Right. And so let me double check her hit points though, because that's
I'm sure that Jonathan is having a little bit of a taste of bile in his mouth.
Like I said,
could be 5 times power, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I can't remember. I think
no,
guys,
there is. Go ahead, Ian. What?
This is the first time I've actually hit a human. I think I've tried a couple of times before.
Yeah, and of all people, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And so, yeah.
Henry says, "Not as fun as you might have thought, huh?"
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, what comes of that basically is the worst thing about it is that, although I mean her whole body is jerked by this, right?
Mm.
But the scream and, you know, perhaps collapsing in shock or other human responses to what just happened, she does not make any of those. And except for one little pitiful whimper noise. And then also, and this is evident to everybody, the metaphysical sense of gathering force is overwhelmingly powerful and dreadful. You can't see them precisely, but the entities that are streaming, that are filling her, impel her to start walking forward, and each step takes her closer to you than it should.
Yeah.
And so the purposefulness of that stomping, or kind of like every step is falling kind of step, is the degree to which it's coming at you is extremely quick. And you get the idea that maybe you don't want to be anywhere near where she can actually reach you.
Yeah, I got that impression.
Vakia's arrow sadly misses. And you hear her say a very bad word.
Okay.
Matthew, you with us?
Yeah, it's like, am I frozen? Am I? Sorry.
You are. Curses.
Fiddle. Okay, off and on.
Okay, so Matthew, you're up with your spell, first of all.
Yep, so I'll get the spirit shield up. Was
Right.
it straight? 9, you said.
Right. So, and so that's what's occurring in this round.
Yep.
We will return to our next scheduled round in just a moment. Binri, you're gazing at the stickman. Are you waiting for them to do anything? Is that your...
Yeah, well, so I'm actually kind of expecting either of these two elders here to say something first.
They will say something that sounds like a ritual phrase of some kind. And it's a little strange because it ends with several seemingly random numbers. The stickman will respond in ordinary language, which is peace, trade, talk, is what they say. And one of them does something with its arm and hand to itself, and a voice appears, which is actually Vakia's voice, and it says, it says, going up into Hag's Nook. The players say there's plenty to see and plenty to do. Might as well travel with them for a bit as well as anything else. So, if you ever get the chance, coming up that way and see how I'm doing. And then there's a kind of a funky closing clicky noise, and then that one returns back to and says, Vakia, here?
Everybody
looks at
recognized.
you. Everybody looks at you.
Yeah, everybody recognized that was Vakia's voice, right?
Right.
That was her talk. I mean, Binri is literally, everybody recognized that was her voice. We're pretty sure she's heading for
Green Rock.
Of course, Green Rock.
Yes.
Of course, green, the thing that is escaping my head for some reason.
That's right.
Yes, Green Rock. It's she's going to fight the evil there.
She told you where she was going. I seem to remember, didn't she? Because she told all of us.
No, she said she had to go there, and
right.
and somebody needed to die. And I'm going there because somebody needs to die.
The other one that had not produced the recorded voice nods once and says in a very confirmatory way and speaks as if agreeing with you, "Kill her." He doesn't mean kill her. He's describing her. She's a
Yeah,
killer.
yeah. Kind of got that impression. Do we talk to Stickman?
Yeah, she's the one. Your dad basically says, "Go ahead, Benry. They they want to talk to you."
We've had trouble in the village, and she has helped and saved us. Um, Actually, we were just talking about what we should do. The village is still in great danger.
The stickmen look at each other once, and then one of them says to you, "We decided. Metal. She can have metal."
Mm.
Um,
Which way?
uh, towards Green Rock. It is. I have recently learned. Describe what I've learned about the direction towards Green Rock, and
The others start talking too and say, "It's this way. It's up that way. You should go like this." And they wait and wait and wait until everybody kind of runs out of talking, and then one of them says, "Show," in a very distinct question intonation. It's almost as though it says the questioning very carefully because it wants to be clear that it is requesting.
yeah. Um, and Binri once again, I'm guessing, feels the stares upon him.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, actually. They're not going to throw a teenager out there by himself. Your dad says,
Uh,
your dad says it's time. And he says,
I would say, let
he
me
says,
take
let's. He
Dex
says,
with me, but he's not here.
your dad basically says, "I'll do it. It's time. It's time we lived up to our children. Come on, Benry."
And Binri will be kind of enthusiastic to go, and he'll actually kind of look at his dad and said, "Should anybody who wants to come with us?"
Um, he looks around and says, "Whoever will follow. We're going now."
This
And you're actually a little startled at this. People start like snapping to, your shield. You don't have to go get your shield. You've got a shield before you know it. You've got a shield. You've got a spear. You're wearing, uh, you know, you're given heavier clothing. You're armored up.
look around for June.
Yeah, she'll be on her way.
Yep, and make sure. Well, I'm not quite sure if it's the right thing to do, but let her decide if she wants to grab one of the sticks, one of the practice swords.
Yeah, the two of you. She says she looks at you and says, "Actually, let's leave these here for when we come back. When we come
Yeah, she
back,
seemed to not.
when we come back, I've got somewhere to go."
Yeah, it seems like she didn't really use them in battle, so maybe that's not right. Okay, but we got to move, apparently.
So, well, the stickmen aren't waiting around.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so Binri's only focus at this point is just making sure that anybody he runs into, he says, we're going to Green Rock. You should come. The fate of the village may be decided there.
So the next thing that happens at the end of the strike rank rounds are two more figures proceeding out of the woods into the battlefield situation. They are strange looking pseudo-skeletal constructs of wood that don't really have heads, and are you know entering as combatants toward you. In fact, they're on either. They're on not you, Gordon. I'm talking about the.
No, I understand.
Right.
It's the oh, okay, something else weird is happening now.
That's
Great.
right. And so yeah, there's quite a bit of it going on all of a sudden. The
Yeah, I'm kind of wishing I'd had all the armoring up that you had.
All right. Well, at least you got a slung stone. At least you got a ready stone, a ready sling shot there.
Yep.
Let's see. You fired that one off on 1, and then it takes you. Actually, I think you can get off another shot this round.
I can, yeah. Okay.
Who are you?
There's no speed dot this round, so
right.
yeah, it's we're down to 50. So the first one, the 1-on-1.
Wait, who are you going after? Who are you?
I'm going after Urine.
Okay.
All right, so I actually hit on 36. I've got 50% of something. It's actually quite good. I can do things. Okay.
A coin flip seems
location
good.
would be 1. That's a leg, isn't it?
Yep.
For 5 points.
Okay. The
I'm sensing a kind of zombie movie thing here. I may have to physically, basically smash her apart in order to stop her coming, but there you go.
Actually, it knocks the leg out from under her. It does not maim it as badly as the arm, but it does knock it back, and she falls fully prone, face down.
Right.
Matthew, the spirits infecting her are so heinous that all of you are going to be exposed to a multitude of vile disease strikes.
Okay.
Based on whether you can hold them off or not.
Right. Okay.
No pressure then.
No, a weakened POW state.
And so let's bring it in then. Vakia, after shooting the one arrow, drops her bow and draws her sword. So we're coming in. Binri, you have riding, correct?
I do.
Make a riding roll check. A riding roll.
Right. That is in the agility block. And oh wait. That is the same as before. I have a 9 out of 20.
Excellent.
So that's a success.
Make a ride. Check it. Make sure you record the success. And fantastic. So it's actually fairly impressive. The stickmen basically are walking. You and your father are riding. They move. They walk faster and faster and faster. They're technically going where you go, but by them walking faster, you're forced to go faster in order to lead them, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, they're pushing the pace.
After a bit, you're a little startled to discover that at a canter, they can keep up.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. You don't know if they can match a gallop, but at a canter, they're making.
Well, if that's as fast as they're pushing, that's as fast as we'll go.
Exactly.
We're not going to start trying to push them.
Exactly. So, but that means you guys are basically, booking along. It's a very, very brisk pace, and won't take you. The way is slowed by the deterioration of the track, but it's not so deteriorated at this point that you'd have to get off your horse or anything like that. There are a few places where the horses have to slow and pick their way through a spot or something of the kind. But you let's see. You are interested at one point or another that your father is preparing a spell.
Okay.
And so,
Just, I mean, is it something I would? So it's probably just not something that I have seen him really use before. It's not
no,
like
I mean,
it's all
people,
that weird that
people
he has
use
a spell.
No,
But
people use minor, just like you know a spell too,
Yeah.
or two. A lot of people know one or two spells.
Yeah.
And so that's not a big deal in and of itself.
Right. It's not like that's a big deal. But this particular one that he's doing, I probably don't have any idea what it is.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. So, I would say the next thing is that you guys would arrive coincidentally right about this point in the fight.
Mm-hmm.
It could be helpful.
Yeah. So you see all these things. Maybe spotting urine. And make a scan roll.
All right. Binry scan. Oh my goodness. That die just keeps rolling 00. So a 3 on my scan.
Holy crap. Well, you already got one scan, so you're not going to get another check for it, unfortunately. But
Actually, I haven't had a scan yet.
Oh, all right then. Oh, everybody's scanning everywhere. Okay. And so you end up with a all you do is you see Yoreen and recognize her.
Right.
You see that, I mean, she's already fallen down, and you might not have noticed her at all if you had failed the roll, but you see that she's over there and has fallen, and that something seems dreadfully wrong over there, both with the nature of her corpse and also her body, and also with the emanations coming off it. And what the hell is Alkerton doing here?
Well, when his rank comes on, he's going to be attacking the spirits possessing Doreen, I think.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
And protecting.
And I think Binry will be planning to, ride up to within I don't know. I don't remember if we have a special unit of distance here. Right up to within 10 or 20 feet and dismount.
Right. It's just feet in RuneQuest. No squares. Yeah.
Yeah. It's old school. I wonder if we'll have meters in the new one. I can't remember.
You know what? I think it is it's meters.
Yeah.
Because, they do it in meters because they were educated. They were educated at the Chaosium.
Yeah.
They were modern, forward-looking. It was going to be the metric system, man. Mid-70s. The whole world's going to be using it. And
but the UK is about to return to him.
Wave of the future. And so let's see here. I've got to get some strike rank stuff down. This is actually a little bit confusing. All right, sorry, Matthew. Let's do it.
Okay.
Coming in on the beginning of the next round, you're going to be dismounting, you said, and your dad will be doing the same. Actually, no, he's actually going to turn his horse, and he's going to be casting the spell. That's what he's up to. So he's preparing. He's going to cast a spell quite soon. But Matthew, I think you're coming in first.
Okay. So I'll attack the spirits.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure what their power is. Slightly worried, I'm a bit weaker.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you want to keep it secret and I'll just tell you what I roll wrong? What
Yes,
would you
please.
rather?
And then I'll let you know upon contact, you'll discover what you're up against.
Oh dear. 84.
84 is not going to do it. You're up against a power of 21, which means that you're actually in quite a bit of.
Okay. That's
Now,
6 points over me. Okay.
right now, the good news is that you don't have any stored power in the spirit world. The disembodied fetch can cast spells into the physical plane, and it can attack other characters in spirit combat at the direction of the shaman or at its own volition. And there you go. Okay, you can also use its power to cast spells if you want to. So, you do not succeed, but the counter attack, on the other hand, coming in on you. So we're talking about 21 on 15, a difference, a 30-point difference. Okay, it's got an 80% chance.
Yep.
Which it rolls a freaking 82, you son of a bitch.
Lucky.
Yes, very, as a matter of fact. And so spirit combat is enjoined, and you realize how deadly this situation is. Your various lore and experience are going to give you a pretty good roll on this one. Do you have like lore disease or anything like that, or the herbs? Did you learn any as a disease?
I have lore disease at 20, so not
Ooh,
great.
Roll it. You might even get a bonus on this because you're sort of, as we say, intimately aware of its.
No, 89, I'm afraid.
89. No, even without a bonus, you won't make that.
No, it's a different dice, I think.
Right. So, so all you know or can say is that you know it's a diseased spirit. You know, not as if that weren't obvious from a variety of things.
Sludgy things, yeah.
Right. Well, and also you saw them from the spirit plane. It's not as though their natures would be disguised in any way at that point. And so the laughter of the other shaman spirit is all around you. It fills the whole sensory environment of the spirit combat. This sort of diseased cackle of laughter. And you get the idea that it didn't get Eben, but it wants you. You'll do.
Nice.
Now, let's go ahead and take it from here. That spirit combat has been entered. The next thing that will happen is that I believe I'm kind of counting strike ranks in my head. Shouldn't be too long after that. We're at 3 or 4 or 5 around there.
Did you just leave Ron?
What was that? And yeah,
just lost you for a moment, Ron, but you're back.
Oh, okay.
But
I was going to say I'm counting strike ranks, and I think that Ian Stone, next Stone, if a third one's coming, is probably the way to go. If they're
I should be on 1 and 6 and 12, I think.
Right.
We had 5 for each one, plus each one in between.
Right. So
1 plus 5 plus 1. So 1 plus 5 plus 1. So 1 plus 1, 7. And then I can't get a third one.
That's
There'll be 1 and 7.
You could, however, you'd have a next one ready by the end of the round.
Right. So there'll be 1 the next round. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So so that's where we're at. So you haven't come in yet. At this point, it's going to be the attacks of all the melee combatants. One of the skeletal things, woody things, is coming in on Jonathan right now. And with a 28, actually kind of has a chance. Let me 6, 7, 5. Yeah, 35 or less. So it's gonna hit you in a 13. It hit you in the right arm, and it acts as a light mace, and so you are going to take a whopping 3 points, one of which is stopped by your garment. So take 2 points to the right arm, Ian. It swung its club-like limb in a manner not a manner not unlike a baseball bat. Although I suddenly realize that I am talking to people who have no idea what baseball is. So never mind.
We know what baseball bats are. I've been to a baseball game. I have been to a baseball game, Rob. In America, not even in the UK. I've actually sat in the bleachers at a baseball game and learned quite how much of the English language comes from baseball.
That's true. Yes, that's right. Or the American English language, rather.
Yes.
So,
okay, that's all right. If it's 2 points, then effectively I have 2 points left in my arm. So it's smart.
Right.
But
right. You have not taken
still in the game.
Right. And the other one coming in on Vakia, and I begin to do the usual RuneQuest GM cursing thing of why on earth did I create this combat with a 59? I forgot. Did you want to try to? Well, you don't have anything you can parry it with, so forget that.
Right.
And so
I'm gonna do it.
Right.
I do eventually have a dagger, but not right now.
Vakia actually, although her face kind of gets that dead look that mixed martial arts fighters' faces get, to the nonchalant way in which she just places herself so that the thing misses, it doesn't even look like she dodged. Right? She just stepped, and was not where it swings its club like limb through. So then that's them coming in. She's gonna get her attack back, if you don't mind me playing for the NPC for a second here. With a 21 hitting handily.
Good.
Not any trouble at all. Now we have real damage coming in. Somebody's actually going to do real damage on something. Oof, we're rolling a 7 on a broadsword slice. Yeah. She's going to lock the limb right. Well, you know what? I actually probably should go ahead and roll a hit location. 11 is probably some damn kind of arm again. It's all arms, isn't it?
Mm.
Oh, 11 might actually be like chest or something.
11 is an abdomen.
Oh,
good. That sounds
actually
fatalish.
kind of a big deal. Well, especially against these things, they don't stop unless you actually. Actually, she cuts through the spinal column at that point, and the thing falls in a jumble of like matter and twigs and stuff. So that's that's what happens there. And then the next thing would be your dad's spell going off. I'll deal with that in just a second. What are you doing, Gordon?
So if I've gotten dismounted, I was kind of in the area where I thought your Yoreen had fallen, 10 or 20 feet away, or
yeah. And Alkerton
but
is
now
standing
I
there.
assume I now see Alkerton and these stick people and all this stuff going on.
Right.
So I'm going to try and move to his side and bash my shield into one of these creatures to knock it back from him, because he's not anywhere near as well armored and prepared as I am.
You're talking about Alkerton, correct?
Yeah.
Or Jonathan, me.
Oh, Jonathan or Alkerton?
Yeah. Jonathan is the one I was.
That's a really, really good idea. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that basically is going to put between moving and put my strike rank pretty far up there, but let's see how I do. No, an unsuccessful attempt to bash into it with my shield with rolling a 63.
Bummer. Okay. Well, you tried. That's good. And not bad.
I'm not sure I know what's going on here, but I don't want it messing with you, Jonathan.
And that's quite useful.
Yes. And one of the other skeletal woody thing catches on fire.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Go. Bimley's dad.
Ignite.
Yeah.
Ignite is not, I mean, it's not a damage doing thing to a living creature, but in the right circumstances, it's a very handy thing to have. So, so that's occurred. The stickmen, strangely enough, are just standing there. And now we move into, that pretty much takes us to the end of the round. Jonathan finishes loading his sling, and is able to zip it off, I think, on strike
On
rate
one.
1.
Yep.
Yeah.
See if I can do anything. 50%. Come on. 38. That'll do us.
Excellent.
Well, you forgot to tell me who you would be bonking it at.
Oh, the guy who's been hitting me. So the wood guy who
Oh,
hit me.
right. He's the one who just caught on fire. But okay, yeah. Go ahead and, I mean, not that he didn't go up like into, he just
Yeah.
caught on fire. And all I can say is you're like, oh no, more fire. So,
It's taking a step back and
yeah, that's right.
So-
But yeah, not your favorite thing, Jonathan.
And it's not my favourite thing at all, no. So I hit him on a 16, which I think is an arm, probably, isn't it?
I believe it is. Yeah.
For
16,
5 points, my usual on the D8 by the looks of it.
yeah. Actually,
Which
not
may
a bad,
bounce up, I don't
not a
know.
bad blow, not a bad blow. Okay, so it's actually taken a certain amount of damage now that it's on fire, and with your blow, it's not incapacitated yet, unfortunately. The actually, let me roll another hit location just to see, because it kind of matters where it's on fire. Oh, where did you go? D20 versus. That's really weird. Oh well.
I'm going to roll one for you.
No, I got one. Where does
Go.
8 put us? 8 puts us at a leg, I think, correct?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's true.
8 is the left leg.
Okay. So so yes, its left leg is on fire, and it's you knocked away lots of tissue or whatever it is from one of its arms. But interestingly enough, it doesn't. Neither of those seem to slow it much. These are creatures that do not. They will take the damage to their hit points, but they will not.
Got the shock.
They will. Yeah, they will. That will not stop them until the hit points are all gone.
That seems to be a bit of a recurring theme with the things we're fighting.
Well, there's a reason, and also Vakia was able to disable the one because she got an abdomen shot and did maximum damage, which means that she actually could put it out of damage put it out of action. Chest, abdomen, and head.
Head.
Yeah. They don't have a head, however. So for them, the rule for zombie in the rules is chest and head. So they don't have heads. So I made chest and abdomen be their.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, be their spots. So they're not zombies. They're warriors of wood. But I'm using the zombie rules because I like them. And so we have here. What next? God, where were that? Was 1. All right, guys. Spirit combat.
Yep.
Hardly any time at all. What do we got?
That looks more promising. 13, yes. So if they're still at 6 points ahead of me, I should just about get a success there.
Yeah, and in this case, they got a success too. You'll lose a point of power. With a 13, however, you will have knocked them down considerably. Or with a what you rolled? You rolled a
13.
13, yes. You will have knocked them down considerably, so they're actually down to 18. So it's 18 on 14, I believe, correct?
Yeah,
13.
that's correct.
Actually, it should be down to 13 because you already spent the spell on. You spent a point on Spirit Shield.
Oh, you're right.
Unless you borrowed it, you could have borrowed that though from your fetch.
Will you let me do that retrospectively?
Yeah, sure.
Gives you a bit of a chance. Thank you.
Yeah. And so you're at it's now at 17 on 14. So
Slightly better.
as long as you keep them occupied, they're not infecting anybody else.
Okay.
And in order to turn you into what they did to Yoreen, they're going to have to beat you. That's what you realize. That's what will happen if they beat you in spirit combat.
Right. Nice.
You will become a walking oozy disease vector and dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you know,
So
incidentally.
right. Yoreen is not moving. She is dead. The second slingshot
Oh,
killed her.
okay.
Right.
Vengeance is mine.
Well, that's one way to look at it. Let's see. I actually rather feel for her.
Come on. Even at the end of the last episode, I think I'd finally decided that he wanted to have his revenge on Yoreen.
Oh man, brutal. Okay, well, there's no alignment in this game. Let's go ahead for the next person. And I'm confusing myself slightly, but I think it's melee combat people who are doing it. Binri, go ahead.
All right. So, yeah, Finry continues to think that bashing with his shield is his best option. Let's see. Oh, I don't think there's any way. So, my rules actually don't have my numbers for using a shield as a weapon.
It's in the appendix, I think, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it is, and not only that, Gordon, I thought that we actually gave you an attack roll for that.
Yeah, no, I know the attack roll. I just don't have damage.
Oh,
but
yeah,
that's okay.
Shield bash in the appendix, Ian.
Okay, so I will find that then. But in this case, it's irrelevant because I did not hit.
Ah, well, geez.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're bashing away with a shield and not really getting all that far.
Yeah.
And so, although you do seem, I will point out your tactic is correct. To poke at a thing like this with a spear is not going to do a lot of damage. Pointy isn't all that good against these guys.
Yeah.
So, Matthew,
Yep.
you're trapped in the spirit combat at the moment, and you guys are suffering. Everybody is suffering in there. And then Gordon, we've got Vakia has gone. Actually, Vakia is doing something else. Vakia actually runs up to Alkerton and is doing something that's going to come in at the end of the round. She's going to takes her like 3 strike ranks to get over to you, and it's going to take 5 to do what she's going to do. So
Okay.
she's doing something. She's in the middle.
Okay, let's hope it's a good thing.
Right.
Page 113, go.
Right. And so you're re-readying a slingstone or not? What are you going to do something different?
Yeah, I'm going to really study a slingstone again. It's my most effective thing, and it keeps me slightly out of harm. And I'm going to try a little
all
bit.
I got to say is that you can't get a slingstone. Who's your target? There's no slingstone attack possible against something that's actually hitting you in melee.
Well, what I was hoping to do really was back off a little bit, so that put Binry between me and it.
That is strike rank eating, and you will be busy getting the hell out of there and readying a new stone. That's what you're trying to do, right? Okay. So, so you are doing that. Binry,
I don't think I don't love you, Binry, but
right,
you've got a shield that I haven't.
Right.
Yeah, I put myself in this position for that reason. Yes.
Yes, and then we have Binry's dad, who isn't going to get into that big mess of everybody jumping around, all of that, but instead will look at the stickmen and shout at them. What are you doing? The what they're doing becomes evident. I shall roll. Walking very much in unison, not comedically. So they're not precisely making precisely the same moves, but but walking in at the same speed and to the same spot. They walk directly up to where Alkerton is as well.
Oops.
and they're actually going to kneel, or actually, just go low, crouch, like down on one knee, or similar posture, and put their hands on Yorine's body. They've taken all round to do that. It's going to take a little while for this to happen. So that's going to be 12 on 2. That will fail. They seem to be there. There is a loud humming noise that's more like a vibration and is very unpleasant to hear. That is emitting from them.
Is it a verbal or vocal noise they're making, Ron, or
No,
can't we tell?
No.
From their bodies?
Yeah, it's actually emanating from their bodies, like from
Okay.
their literal torsos.
Okay.
For the you and I would recognize it instantly. It's a power transformer noise.
Okay.
Like the hum that you would get off of a utility pole or a power plant unit. I just love these. I've fallen in love with the clothes that the one is wearing. The one of the stickmen's wearing like the clothes. I just love it. I want a picture. All right. Let's take one look at I'm trying to say. Oh yes, and finally Vakia's move. Remember that glowy golden stuff, Gordon?
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Remember that glowy golden stuff?
I do. That was
basically
wonderful stuff.
Right, she basically like squeezes one of those leather pouches of it that it was in, just like squeezes a glob onto Alkerton.
Yeah.
Alkerton.
Okay.
3-point power boost to Alkerton.
Oh.
So on even scores now, I think.
Yeah.
So that's a 50-50. And I got 35.
Fantastic.
I only got one, but I did get side benefits.
So yes, you're going to knock it down for 2 points.
Okay.
And sadly, it's going to knock you down for 2 points.
Okay, so still on the even keel.
Right.
Okay.
But still, you're not like it didn't drive you down, into the danger zone. You're being kept on your feet, as it were.
That golden goo helps.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And let's see. So yes, that brings us, I think, to the end of the round. The real take here is going to be what happens in the spirit combat. This is kind of an interesting thing. Trying to see just what you're going to have to do now is they're going to actually be attempting to infect past you. There's all these people there. The question is, can you prevent these spirits from exposing them all to soul waste?
Mm-hmm.
That is what's going on here. So let's carry on.
Okay.
The one warrior thing, the one foe is still active. Everybody tell me what you're doing. Binri.
We still have an active foe. He's going to keep trying to bash at it. That is what makes sense to him.
Right. Your dad's going to come up and is going to use what is now apparently, and he's got to ready his axe, and then we'll come and join you.
Tree-chopping song.
Right. Readying and running up to you will take his entire strike rank round. You're going to be bashing with your shield. Ian, what are you doing? You're the one I don't know about.
Well, I'm trying to get into position to attack it with my sling, but obviously probably circle around a little bit, maybe to kind of like get it from the rear while these guys are facing it at the front.
Ah, got it. Okay, good. That means your maneuvering is probably going to take you a little bit longer to do that, especially because you had backed away from it. And now you're going to have to skirt
Right,
all the
yeah.
way around.
So I'm backing away and then
So,
getting a little bit of distance
right.
to go
So getting
around.
all the way around. And so, Binri, you're going to be up first along with Vakia.
And I actually succeed in bashing.
Oh, well done. Excellent.
My 26 is sufficient, and I do 10 points of damage with a solid blow to number 17.
That's got to be an arm or something.
Number 17 is the left arm, yes.
Okay. Well, the bad news is that once it won't take more than twice its hits to the arm, so the excess points are lost. So I mean so twice that amount will come off its hit points, which is going to be 8 points. You know what? With between the fire, which now I've been burning it for 2 rounds, that's 5 points total plus what you did. Yeah, that's going to dismantle it. All right, you guys brought it down on points basically. So with you doing that, Vakia's strike at it misses because you bashed it away. And she'll kind of look like at her missed strike and then look at you and just like one little half smile hits for a second
I,
there.
I'll do my very best to look both embarrassed and proud.
Right.
Combine the
Yeah.
emotions.
So yeah, not bad. I forgot about June this whole time. That's really shitty of me.
That's
Starting
really
to-
what's happened to her whole life, though, Ron, isn't it?
I
think.
know, it's really bad news. Too many people. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? I'm gonna see how she did. If that makes any sense. Retroactively.
Okay.
Let's take a look at some rolls and see how she did. Oh, all right. She got a couple successful rolls in there. So I'm going to basically say that she has also acquitted herself well against the warrior wood critter things. So,
Yes, unbeknownst to us, that's the least of our worries, but okay.
Right. Well, that is the problem. Let's see. We already dealt with. Now comes the tough part. All right. One of the stickmen topples backwards and hits the dirt. There is a discharge and a very sharp, almost a smell that's kind of like burning but isn't burning. It's not like burning wood, and fills the air. He pitches backwards and like goes still for a second in the ground. The other one, on the other hand, continues with that vibratory noise, and the entity that you're battling, Alkerton, drops 3 points of power.
Ooh,
Right.
Ooh.
that's good. It should be 15 plays 12 then.
That's
okay.
correct. So guys, let's conduct the spirit combat now. What do you get?
Oh, good. 27.
Oh,
Excellent.
27 actually drains quite a bit.
65, nice. That's good.
It hits you with a 7, which is really, really, really nasty.
Yeah.
So let me quick double check the amount. Shouldn't that be? Here we are. So, oh yes, curses. It's all the way back here in the whole power gain rules, which are buried somewhere really obnoxious. Sorry, guys. Looking up.
That's right.
But trying to find Ron? You want me to see if I can help?
Only the power gained through experience.
Oh, the one we had to use the spirit combat, yeah.
Right, which is like totally buried.
Everything in RuneQuest is unfortunately or the only advantage of having a
There it is, increasing power.
PDF isn't searchable.
Got it. Okay, so right. It drops 2, you drop 3. So you
Okay.
drop to 11, but it drops to 10.
So 12. Sorry, I think I'm on.
Right.
So I'm wrong. Okay.
Right, sorry. Yes, you're right. 12 on 10. Okay. So
Okay.
what do we get?
So 60% chance. 43. So that's good. I'm running well at the moment.
Mhm. So, okay, yes. The same thing occurs. It rolls really well too, and so again, you're going to drop 3, and it'll drop 2.
Okay, so is that 9 versus 7, or what
Yes,
am I now?
9 versus 8.
9 versus 8. Oh dear.
Yeah. The margin is diminishing. Is the problem?
Yeah, 55.
Right.
Okay, do it again. These dice field must be loaded. 43.
And it fails. Okay,
It failed.
43.
Okay.
Good. It'll knock it down for 2. And so that'll put you at 9. And what was it?
9 versus 8 it was, so 9 versus 6, is it?
Right, 9 versus 6. Good.
Okay,
And
so
again,
I'm on 65%.
Yeah, you're on the roll.
Okay.
Now. And now it's failing left and right. Okay.
Still manages success, 34.
34, 2 more down. Okay, so yeah, at this point you've got it on the ropes. What will you do with it at this point?
I don't like the sound. I'm going to just destroy it, I think.
Okay. Because and at this point I'm trying to think of what your fetch will do. Oh, you've got Spirit Shield going for you too. We've been forgetting about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. And with Spirit Shield going for you, and it's going to fail that roll. Go ahead. Roll.
Okay. What's it down to, Ron?
Jeez, at this point,
All right.
it's down to 5, I believe.
Yeah, something like that. So 9 versus 5. So that's pretty good. 70. Oops. 64. Just make it. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so that's going to knock it down 1. I'm going to say this will do it.
Okay.
I mean, we don't need to grind it all the way down. There's no way it's going to succeed after this point, except with. I'll just see if it manages to get a 5 or less. It does not. Okay, I just wanted to see how you were doing with the soul waste.
Yes, a con check or something. Do you want, or
Say that again?
doing a constitution check, or?
Yeah, I know. I think it's Constitution times 5. So.
Okay.
It's in the appendix, on the disease rules.
I know. I was just looking. I'm getting really tired. Matthew, how'd you do?
Right. Sorry. 06. Okay.
Ah, you're safe from the soul waste. Since we didn't play it out to the bitter end, I'm going to ask you. One of the stick men looks at you and says, please, Alkerton, even though you're in spirit combat, it can contact you.
Okay.
And it says, it looks at you or cants its face toward you, and that uncanny drawn on eyes thing. I mean, they don't look like eyeballs with eyes. They're just 2 lines.
Yeah.
But it looks at you in a way that lets you know it really is looking at you, and it says, please. And what it's asking is, can it have the power?
From the
Yes.
creature I've killed.
Well, from the spirit. In other words, will you drive it down to 0, or can it have the rest? It already drew off 3.
I'll give it the rest, then. Yeah.
It will absorb it, and you know that destroyed the spirit. That power is now this being's power. That spirit is gone.
That disease thing's gone.
Right.
Good.
In other words, it wasn't a spirit trapping; it was a power drain.
Yeah. Okay, that's better. Yeah.
So basically, you gave it the death blow, but it gets to keep the power. So
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. That's good.
Yeah. So you're learning a lot about stickmen. They're power
Yeah.
batteries.
Yeah. Yeah. So that related to the humming noise then earlier on?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it seems. I was only thinking the other day, thinking we haven't met the stickmen yet. I wonder when they're going to appear.
Well, I've been meaning to, but now makes the most sense. And the fact that the cult of Nea is the only cult that has positive relationships with them is part of this. So, so it struck me as a good idea. Plus, it's fun to play them. I mean, basically, they're my trolls. They're my
Yeah.
completely 100% inhuman race. They call themselves the people. As far as they're concerned, you guys are animals who talk.
Yeah. That's a fair point.
I think so. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
true.
probably accurate.
Yeah. So let's take a look at where we're at. I think this is a break point because I am about to completely fall apart.
Mhm.
Tell me, and also we got to like give your dad a name and like have an interaction and stuff like that. We'll do all that next time. Take a look at let's take a look at improvement.
Okay. So to me, it's just scan and various power rolls, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have a
All
chance
right.
to go up in power and a chance to go up in scan.
Yep.
I have sling and scan.
Mm-hmm.
I've got ride, which is a success.
So,
Shield bash, which is a success.
Oh, good.
And scan, which is not a
Bummer.
success.
Okay.
Scan good.
But I also have int, although my
That's right.
rules says int can't be increased.
Oh,
And so I'm not sure.
balls.
I'm not sure what percentages or calculations
No, you're
to
right.
use for that.
Intelligence isn't supposed to increase, which, if you ask me,
Yeah.
is all kinds of weird ass essentialism going on
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
okay, my sling doesn't go up. That's the trouble. When you get to 50%, I guess
Yeah,
it's only
I
going to
know.
go up one.
Then you're walking a line. I was surprised that the sweet spot was actually just below 50%. It was more like 35 to 50. When if you hit, you would probably go up.
Yeah. But my scan does go up to 30.
good.
So
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, Matthew, did you get a power increase?
No for power, but yes for scan.
Okay, don't forget your power is 15 now, not 17.
Yeah, I know. A bit sad. Never mind.
Well, I actually think it's an interesting point. You made a good roll with that spirit, and you did contract with it. Draw upon that for information when you want, and it will give for a while without further rolls.
Yes, that's true. So I've got an active bargain. I should drop that down, shouldn't I?
Right.
I was lucky not to get completely, nuked for that Z spirit the first round. I was rolling bad. We had a massive advantage.
Right.
Active bargain. Okay. Mm-hmm. Can I call it the Green Way spirit, or what would you?
Right. Yeah. Green Rock Way.
Green Rock Way spirit. Sorry.
Yes. I will bring you guys to Green Rock. Green Rock is a village that is set against a cliff, which, as you might imagine, much of the cliff is a curious green rock color. It's fairly striking. This is there are old decrepit structures still kind of decaying around, mostly with stuff growing up through them. Several areas of cultivation, all of which are choked, but they're not full of trees because trees have not grown there, but all kinds of scrub has grown there instead. However, the ways of the village, the way its layout and everything is still evident. If you knew there was a village there and you stood around and looked back and forth for a bit, you could see how it was laid out. And you can see that there is a way up into the cliff. There's trails and ways to go. It's not sheer. Some of it's sheer, but not all of it is. You can actually go up these kind of, in English, it's called scree. Those kind of like little rivers of pebbles and silt and stuff that make it hard to go up. certain inclines. You know, that's the that's yeah. So there's a couple of places that are full of that, and so you could get up there with a lot of effort. The ominous sense of devastation that this growth brought to this once, in a way, it's kind of like the vegetation came in and destroyed and overgrew stuff, but it's been so blighted and nasty since that it hasn't really continued to grow in a way that would just make the whole thing just forest. And so that's Green Rock.
Cool.
Yeah, that's where you guys end up. So yeah, interesting. Cool.
And we'll see if we can find this Eve woman.
Yeah. Yeah, or Carva.
Yeah, even more scary.
Mm-hmm.
Strangely enough, I kind of understand Jonathan not having much sympathy for Yoreen, but oddly, even though I'm pretty sure she's much creepier, dangerouser, and eviler, there's some sympathy for Carva.
Okay.
From the way she was presented. I'm a little.
Yeah, I mean, I guess as Ron says, you know, Carver was where I could have gone, right?
Right, exactly.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Whereas Yoreen just seems to have been a bad person.
Well,
yeah. Well, I think, you know, the cult offered power, and Yoreen enjoyed that, right? But
yeah.
Well,
I'll accept that as a version of bad person.
all right then.